Part 19. National Games Online Game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 181. Listen to God. Here it is. A battlefield under my command. For a moment, golden swords flew in the sky. Countless blue-armored soldiers fell one after another, but none of them could come forward. Even Athena had to shut her edge. Humph. Watching the two blue lines shot out of the black hole getting brighter and brighter, watching Gongsunli being confined in that small area, feeling the terrifying energy that was about to erupt from the black hole. Li Xian's face was bruised. Heh, today, you're going to watch Gongsunli fall in front of you. Athena snorted coldly, glanced at the trapped Gongsunli, and looked at Li Xian with contempt. And Li Xian, now it is obvious that the state is not right. At this moment, the giant sword in his hand was held high, and his face was full of anger, like the wrath of a god. One thought leads to the sky. Gods and demons are fearless. If you are in a desperate situation, you will not live and die in all directions. Thunder and lightning scatter. Suddenly, several golden rays of light appeared in the originally dark sky. Boom. Above the nine heavens, there was a sudden shock. It's as if the gods are really angry. The giant sword in Li Xian's hand, the golden light became stronger and stronger, and it was so shaking that people couldn't open their eyes. And those golden lights actually had a precursor to breaking through the shackles of the giant sword. Not good. Athena looked shocked. Ah, shield. Immediately put the spear shield in front of his chest and turned on his most powerful defensive stance. Woo boom. The light on Li Xian's giant sword was like golden lightning. Countless golden rays shot from the giant sword towards the blue-armored soldiers who surrounded Li Xian. Boom, boom. At this moment, the whole world is illuminated. Under the influence of this huge energy, the black hole has accelerated its contraction. And under such a powerful attack, Athena also felt the pressure doubled, so she could only grit her teeth and hold on. Heavenly punishment. This. Isn't this Li Xian still a god? This is the gods. Even Athena has to fend off his attacks. But, will he be able to save Gongsunli? Li Xian. This is really terrifying. I feel that his strength is even more terrifying than a natural lightning strike. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, is suppressed. How can it be? How can we Western gods be suppressed by a Li Xian? Stand up, hold on. In the live broadcast room, people were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They knew that Li Xian might be strong, but they didn't know that Li Xian was so strong. At this moment, there was hope in the eyes of the Xiaoguo audience. In the eyes of audiences in Western countries, in addition to shock, they just can't believe it. Li Xian is a human being, right? Human beings can do this. Can humans be like this with the true gods? No, I don't believe it. In the live broadcast room, it was a mess in an instant. At this time, the giant sword in Li Xian's hand finally stopped releasing that terrifying golden mang. The giant sword now looked as if it had been drained of energy, and even the golden light that had been brought on it had become a little dim. And Li Xian also stood in place panting. Athena, too, was no better, and even her dress was covered with a lot of dust. And none of the blue-armored soldiers behind her were standing. Ali. Li Xian didn't dare to hesitate too much, and ran straight away. However, by this time, it was too late. The terrifying energy in the black hole has obviously been converging. The two laser-like rays are no longer wobbly. The laws of the world. Suddenly, in the black hole, a voice like an electronic synthesis came out. Don't. Li Xian's eyes widened in despair instantly. It's late, everyone knows, it's late. Buzz. Huh. A pillar of blue light shot out of the black hole. Gongsunli's figure was directly submerged by the blue pillar of light. but the blue pillar of light hasn't stopped. Smack! The terrifying power reaches the walls of the Great Wall. As if there were no obstacles, the walls were pierced directly. In an instant, the audience fell silent. It was so quiet that Li Xian, who was far away in mid-air, could clearly hear the cries of insects. The silence was so quiet that the air seemed to freeze. Everyone stood dumbfounded, looking at the ray and the location of Gongsunli at the entrance of the cave. This is the power of the true God. It's simply irresistible. Between heaven and earth, nothing can stop this blow. In the live broadcast room, the audience came back to their senses. Gongsun Li. Gongsun leaves? No, impossible, Gongsun Li won't die. Don't lie to me. Gongsun Li is like my daughter, how can he die? You. Don't lie to me. Impossible. She's standing there just now? No. Absolutely not. Some Xiaoguo viewers collapsed on the spot. How is that possible? I don't believe it, she hasn't eaten the lollipop we prepared for her. That's not true. No. No. She's still young, Isn't she a good relationship with Li Xintian? The two are not together yet, how can they die? How is it impossible, ha ha ha. This Gongsun Li, it's really inflated, dare to mix with the contest between the true gods, now it's okay, he didn't do anything, he died directly. Ha ha ha. Is Xiaoguo going to be finished? The national strength has been reduced by half, ha ha ha. Wait, Xiaoguo. It's long overdue. It's just so pretty, it's. In the live broadcast room, the reactions of foreign audiences were completely different from those of Xiaoguo, but Xiaoguo audiences were not in the mood to scold those people at this time. Death, all have to die. In mid-air, Li Xian had long since lost his usual handsomeness and martial arts. A neatly groomed blue hair, I don't know when it has fallen down. Ali, you can't watch the misfortune of others. The lonely bird that floats also has the right to seek happiness. Who built it, who watched over it, who returned from it in the season of maple leaves? Flowers, blooming in the spring. Of Chang'an. Gongsun Li's voice seemed to be still ringing in his ears. Li Xian lowered his head, his face full of pain. His eyes were slowly turning red. It seems that it is going to become red like Gongsun Li. And around him, a strange aura was climbing. Ho! Suddenly, Li Xian suddenly raised his head. His expression now, even Athena was startled. Senluo, array. Li Xian lifted the giant sword in his hand with one hand, and the originally golden giant sword was wrapped in a circle of blue aura at this time. Compared with the previous divine aura, he was more like a demon at this time. Sun and moon, will. Finally, Li Xian broke out, and the sacredness of the day was no longer seen on his body, and instead of it, it was a demon, a terrifying demon. Crackle! Even if he stood there without moving, the demonic chi on his body made the ice blue steps a little unbearable, and they shattered one after another. You. Seeing this, Athena couldn't help but be a little jealous, but at this time, Li Xian was like a fierce beast, and there was no emotion in his pupils. Staring at Athena. Look at how mortals like me kill gods and demons. Li Xian raised his sword and rushed towards Athena. This sword, deserved the judgment. The gods apologize. Hou Yi followed closely at this time, and Athena had to retreat. At this time, the black hole is getting smaller and smaller. And the blue light that can penetrate everything is slowly dissipating at this moment. However, no one cared about those except Athena. Li Xian, Hou Yi, you too, do you want to die endlessly? Athena yelled angrily. At this time, she had already run towards the black hole as fast as she could. As long as she is in the black hole, she will not be so stressed. Li Xian and Hou Yi chased after him. Gongsunli, there are no ashes left. Athena roared. At this moment, the blue light that ran through the entire heaven and earth disappeared. Li Xian and the three of them subconsciously looked in that direction. Li Xian, let. Hou Yi even followed behind Li Xian, and the words of comfort were spoken. But he was suddenly stunned. How could it be? The next moment, Athena's voice of disbelief came. I saw the mouth of the black hole, and Gongsun was away from the place where he was standing. There is nothing as many people think. Instead, a white figure was holding an umbrella, looking at the three of them calmly. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 182. Ali. Li Xian exclaimed, and his originally hideous expression suddenly calmed down. Even the offensive paused for a moment. Somehow, just looking at that figure, I felt a sense of peace of mind. But thinking of the scene just now, Li Xian was angry again. After just a moment's pause, he turned his attention back to Athena. In the live broadcast room, all the audience was dumbfounded at this time. Is Gongsun okay? Is that really Gongsun Li? Why did you change your clothes? Hey, look at the ears on her head, it's Gongsun Li. What's the situation? Is Gongsun Li already so strong? The true god's attack just now is even. The Great Wall. What is the situation? What about Gongsun Li's original clothes? Why do I feel that Gongsun Li is a little strange now? When did you change your clothes? I feel that Gongsun Li seems to be different from before, but it feels the same again, so contradictory. Long. Grown up. The audience of Xiaguo looked at Gongsun Li at this time and talked about it. I had no idea what had just happened. Originally, although everyone didn't say it, they were not optimistic about Gongsun Li, but they didn't expect her to appear like this in the next moment. And it's still a light and breezy appearance. So everyone's mind is full of questions. And all this, only Gongsun Li himself knows what is going on. The golden body, the weapon she had acquired when she first obtained the Suanwei forest, came in handy for the first time today. And obviously, the role of this golden body is extremely perverted. As for why the clothes on the body have changed, not to mention. She wanted to change it when she prayed for Xueling's blessing, so she naturally changed it when she got the opportunity. At this time, Gongsun Li looks like a real immortal. The most attractive thing is the pair of long white and pink ears, standing on the head, but the current ears seem to be a lot more energetic than before, at least they will not bend from time to time, and they look a little more calm and a little less cute. A head of white hair was tied together with a red hair tie and combed into two small braids behind his back. Further down, there is a small face as white as hair, extremely delicate. He wore a white cloak over his shoulders and a very dignified white skirt with the back of the skirt hanging down to the back of his feet. A pair of red shoes is also inlaid with two fluffy white fur balls. But what is surprising is that she is now standing with 2 feet in the void. She'll fly. Holding a flower umbrella in his hand, just this flower umbrella is much more chic. It seems to be made of crane feathers, in red, white and black, and there is a crane pattern on the entire flower umbrella. It adds a lot of fairy energy to the whole person, and it seems that the skill auspiciousness that comes with the skin is also passively stimulated, giving people a very comfortable feeling. From head to toe, it is pure white with a small amount of red decoration, which looks noble and with a hint of playfulness. But looking at him, it makes people feel that it is winter, as if they have seen heavy snow falling all over the sky. Just standing there, she couldn't be ignored. It's as if he was born to be the protagonist between heaven and earth. Impossible. Gongsun is not dead. Even if he is not dead, how can he look even more powerful than before? Could it be that the attack of the true God is useless against her? No. It's fake. Gongsunli is already dead just now. How is it possible? She's just a vanguard, how can she resist the attack of the true god? And now she has become, more like the immortal in the mythology of the Xia kingdom. Foreign audiences were shocked when they saw this scene. In their hearts, before the news of Nuwa's attack came out, they had already decided that Gongsun was dead. But now Gongsun Lian stood safely in front of them. For a moment, everyone couldn't believe it. At this time, the black hole in front of Gongsunli was getting smaller and smaller. Gongsunli didn't try to enter the black hole again, because she could feel that she still couldn't enter it like before. Huh. Suddenly, Gongsunli smiled at the corner of his mouth. Once again, she felt the same spatial suppression as before. But this time, she easily dodged it. She didn't want to eat that pillar of light just now. And with her physical skills, as long as she is not trapped, the attack will not hit her no matter what. Whoosh! Before the terrifying spatial power was pressed down, she had easily appeared behind everyone and sat on Yo-Yo's back. And Athena, Li Xian, and Ho Yi have already hit the mouth of the black hole at this time. At this time, the black hole was only the size of 2 people. Humph! Athena snorted angrily, turned around and rushed directly into the black hole, and the blue figure disappeared in an instant. Li Xian and Ho Yi suddenly stopped. Gongsunli followed behind Li Xian, not knowing what to do, because she didn't know Li Xian's plan at all. But he knew that Ho Yi wanted to save Chang'e, but he should have failed. After all, the black hole was about to close, but they didn't even enter the door. Ali. Suddenly, Li Xian relieved himself. At this time, he was still in a demonic state, and the whole person looked a little evil. Li Xian's blood-red eyes looked at Gongsunli tightly. The rest, it's up to you. Gongsunli was stunned for a moment. And the next moment, Li Xian and Ho Yi rushed directly into the black hole. I'm sorry. The figures of the two disappeared in front of Gongsunli in an instant. There was only one sentence left, Li Xian's voice floating in Gongsunli's ears. Gongsunli's eyes were suddenly full of doubts. But at this point, the speed of the black hole's contraction suddenly accelerated. By the time Gongsunli reacted, there was only a hole the size of a bowl left. Gongsunli could only watch the black hole close. And at the last moment when the black hole was completely closed, a pink and a green color staggered out of the black hole. Smack! Gongsunli grabbed it directly. Peony petals. Gongsun was stunned for a moment, and a voice that she was extremely familiar with sounded in her ears. And she didn't pay attention, and the green instantly turned into a green glow and drilled into Yu-Yu's head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 183. Go. Go to the Kinoshita Academy. The pink peony flower seemed to have an aura and floated to Gongsunli's ears. Ming Xian's voice came out intermittently from inside. Gongsunli was stunned for a moment. And at this moment, something that surprised her even more had just happened. Yo! Yo-Yu's cry immediately attracted all the attention of Gongsunli. Yo-Yo! What's wrong with you? Gongsunli turned his head to look at Yo-Yo, and his eyes suddenly widened. At this time, there was a faint green glow on Yo-Yo's head. And Yo-Yo's always smart eyes were also full of confusion at this time. It's as if a sleeping girl has just opened her eyes, and she doesn't know what happened. But Yo-Yo's changes at this time have just begun. The patterns on its body began to become translucent and incomparably clear. The whole body, except for the green light on the head, exudes a colorful glow. The entire glow completely envelopes Yo-Yo, making it impossible to see Yo-Yo's state at this time. And Gongsunli's eyes lit up. This scene, she seemed to be familiar. When Yo-Yo evolved in Monkey Mountain, it seemed that she was in this state. It's just that this time the momentum is obviously much bigger than last time. The green. Gongsunli muttered to himself. She remembered the green dots of light that flew out with the peony petals. The people inside are also helping us. Gongsun guessed that fortunately she could fly now, otherwise Yo-Yo would be in this state. She couldn't ride at all, let alone stay in the air with it. At this time, because the black hole disappeared, the core of the arc reappeared, and the entire sky was originally shrouded in the light emitted by the core of the arc. At this time, it is also slowly recovering, and the sky is gradually brightening. The core of the arc was silently suspended in the air. It's just that Gongsunli can see at a glance that the core of the arc at this time is dim compared to before. It looks like a small blue square. Gongsunli glanced at Yo-Yo in the glow and felt that there was nothing abnormal. Then he turned and went to retrieve the core of the arc. Holding it in his hand, Gongsunli could clearly feel the cold touch coming from the core of the arc. Just now, this is the one who opened up a hole that connects with other spaces. Then Li Xian and Ho Yi also went in. The role of the core of the arc should be more than that, right? Where is the gate of that world? Gongsunli lowered her head and pondered. She was now 100% sure that what she had just opened was just a temporary passage. And Li Xian and Ho Yi have also discussed it a long time ago, and they want to kill it together. It's just that she didn't know anything at first. Gongsunli thought of Li Xian, and his heart was a little irritable. At the last moment when Li Xian walked into the cave, the look at her made her feel a little uncomfortable. It's as if I'm finally growing up. Gongsunli had no choice but to shake his head and stop thinking about it. Kinoshitagakuin. Gongsunli held the core of the arc in his hand, thinking about the words that came out of Ming Xian. She thought that this academy might really have something to do with the core of the arc. In the background of the king, the three sages are all in Jixia Academy, and the whole place, the most mysterious, is probably also Jixia Academy. Could it be that the gate of that space is in the Jixia Academy? Gongsunli looked at the dim core of the arc. This is obviously a lack of energy. I am afraid that if it is recovered naturally, I don't know how many years. And when the time comes, it will still only open a channel. And that passage seems to be quite restrictive to heroes. Gongsunli lowered his head and pondered. Although the time for the passage to open just now is not long, it is definitely not short. With the strength of the king hero, if there is no limit, it is impossible to fail to come out of any of them just now. And this is what Gongsunli thought at the beginning, but who knew that the truth was completely different from what she thought. Now, though, it's clear that there's a new clue to what's going on. What the hell is the green one? Gongsunli put away the core of the arc and turned his head to look at Yo-Yo. At this time, the sky has completely returned to brightness, and the glow on Yo-Yo's body is as dazzling as the sun. Gongsunli felt that Yo-Yo's breath had been changing. Transfiguration. Gongsunli frowned and looked at the glow. The glow was now slowly shrinking, and the shadow of a humanoid figure was slowly condensing. Gongsunli was stunned for a moment, and she seemed to have thought of something. Hey, look. Yo-Yo is about to transform. It feels like it's like a woman in the first place. Look at it. It must be a cute little Shota, right? Mom. I feel happy just thinking about it. It seems that someone is helping it in the space opened by the core of the arc. Antlers. Antlers are out? Ha ha ha, Xiao Zhengtai didn't run. Another shapeshifter. In the live broadcast room, the audience of Xiaoguo was extremely excited at this time, after seeing Gongsunli go through so much. They also feel that they are a little well informed, but it is still very rare to see the transformation of demon beasts. Gongsun left his side with a flash of golden light, and Nanan also appeared. Sister Huang. Nan glanced at Gongsunli up and down, and a look of satisfaction leaked from her eyes. Gongsunli's current clothes are enough to match her identity in her opinion. At the very least, it's much more solemn than not wearing shoes before. Sister Huang, how is Yo-Yo? She asked with big cute eyes. Although she could feel Yo-Yo's breath, there was no connection between her and Yo-Yo. So she can't know what Yo-Yo is doing now. And after getting along for such a long time, the relationship between Nan Nan and Yo-Yo is still very iron. At the very least, the two of them can usually play together. Hearing Nanan's words, Gongsunli just smiled. You ask Yo-Yo. Gongsunli pinched Nanan's little face and continued. I'm afraid I won't be able to call Yo-Yo in the future, I have to change my name. An inexplicable light flashed in Gongsunli's eyes. Change your name. Nan Nan's head tilted, looking at Gongsunli, her eyes full of doubts. At this time, Yo-Yo's transformation has obviously entered the final stage. The glow on his body gradually shrank, and it became less dazzling. And a petite figure slowly appeared. Buzz. Suddenly, a vision abruptly appeared, and Qiangliyu appeared on the horizon. The blue-tiled attic, the flowing water, and the ethereal clouds. It looks like a place where immortals live. Gongsunli felt a little familiar. Isn't this the Suanwei temple? As soon as her words fell, Qiangliyu slowly disappeared, and changed into a forest scene again. What is this, a mirage? Everyone in the live broadcast room was shocked by the scene in front of them. Listen. Suddenly, with a crisp sound, the glow disappeared completely, and the forest on the horizon disappeared with it. And a petite figure was standing there prettily. Sister Ali. A delicate voice remembered. Everyone, dumbfounded. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 184. I saw that the originally extremely beautiful fawn turned into a little lorry with bright eyes and bright teeth at this time. The antlers on the head are still a little exaggerated. The white hair is also combed into two tiny braids and scattered at the back of the head, which looks extremely smart. Those two ears also look different from humans, like elves. The round little face, from time to time, flashed a hint of cunning, which made people know at a glance that this girl was absolutely not at ease. She wore an orange and blue skirt with a bow on her right chest, and several cloud-like patterns on the skirt were embellished. A clean calf stepped on the void, and the white foot was not wearing shoes, and the ankle was decorated with two golden clouds. And in her hand, she also holds a staff taller than herself. The staff is red throughout, with a golden tip underneath and a green bead on top. On the pillars, cloud patterns float, looking beautiful. The beautiful girl in the manga came out alive. Isn't this the Yao in the King? Meet the deer. The people in the live broadcast room blew up. Oh my god, what's going on? Yo-Yo. Isn't Yo-Yo a stag? I'm stupid. Dear, do you dare to say dear? I declare that from now on, this is my wife. Shit, you stinky shameless. She and her baby have horns on their heads. It's so cute. I look like pinching her little face. It's so cute. Little dear, this is, dot. It's so beautiful, it looks so fairy. Woo, I've lived for more than 20 years in vain, and my skin is not as good as hers. Another fairy has arrived. In the live broadcast room, Xiaoguo's audience was already crazy at this time. Sister Ali. With a smile on her face, Yao rushed directly towards Gongsunli. Okay, you. Gongsunli hugged Yao, and felt some emotion in his heart. Originally, when she first met Yo-Yu, she felt like Yao. But I didn't expect it to be. You say, why didn't you tell me earlier? Sister, don't I even remember? A hint of loneliness flashed in Yao's eyes. Just now, the green one was given to me by me, so I can recover my memory. Hearing Yao's words, Gongsun was stunned, and a short figure flashed in his mind. Gigutsi. Gongsun sighed. It seems that everyone has seen what happened here just now. At this time, Nan Nan suddenly pulled Yao's clothes, and Yao immediately reacted. Hello. Yao let go of Gongsunli, and kept pinching Nanan's little face with her little hand. Although Yao's memory has recovered now, her memory of being a white deer has not disappeared. You're so cute. Sister Yo-Yo, you too. Yao said playfully. Seeing this scene, Gongsunli almost laughed out loud. The two little dots blow each other here. This scene is undoubtedly very healing, and it hit many people's hearts in an instant. However, Gongsunli still interjected. Okay, Nanan, don't call her Yo-Yo in the future, she has her own name, her name is Yao. Yao. Nan Nan shook her head and looked at Yao and giggled. Nice, that's a nice name. The two little lories soon got together again. Gongsunli looked at the two of them, and a smile appeared on his face. But I was a little unhappy. Because, she doesn't seem to have a mount anymore. And forget it if there is no mount, this Yao's skills seem to be very unfriendly to her. Identity reversal. As soon as he thought of Yao riding on his head, Gongsunli shuddered. No way. When pigs fly? She won't let Yao ride on her head if she says anything. Just use the auxiliary equipment on Yao's body yourself. That's right. Thinking of this, Gongsun was taken aback. All right, it's time for us to go. Gongsunli beckoned to the two little ones. Sister Huang. Sister Ali. The two little loli instantly pounced on Gongsunli, and Gongsunli felt like he was taking a child now. But although these two small ones can grow, the horns on their heads are very uncomfortable. All right, let's go back. In the end, Gongsunli still picked up one in one hand and flew forward. As for her umbrella, it was also placed in Nanan's hand. One last glance at the Yumen Pass, which was still standing, turned around and left. You mean, the real gateway is in the Jixia Academy? On a prairie, Gongsunli's voice sounded. By this time, they had already left the Great Wall. You can even faintly see the Thousand Caves city. And she didn't know why Ming Xian would tell her about Jixia Academy, although it had now been confirmed that this place was the King Continent countless years ago. But she really didn't have any clues about the academy. However, Yao told her about the matter between the Jixia Academy and the core of the Ark. Yes, Sister Li. The core of the Ark is the key, and today it is just a hole in that space. So my master and the others can't get out, but if they find the Jixia Academy and open the door of the space, when the time comes, the various forces will be able to recover their strength, and they will be able to directly destroy everything in one fell swoop. Yao had a rare serious face. These are the memories she just gotten. Sister Ali, you are the most powerful, you are different from them, although I don't know why, but I can feel it. That space, you can't get into, they can't imprison you. But now that the weapons of the Great Wall Guards are all on you, when the time comes, open the space gate, and the 5 holy beasts should be able to kill directly from it. Gongsunli took a little lorry on the side and carefully analyzed Yao's words. Open the door and let them come out of it. Gongsunli thought of the vigorous figure of the king and hero. Immediately after, she sighed again. Now, she didn't even know where the Jixia Academy was. Thinking of this, Gongsunli flew directly into the sky with 2 small ones and headed towards the Thousand Caves city. If you want to know the location of Jixia, you will naturally know if you look for a hexagram of Suanjizi. National Games Online Game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 185. Thousand Cave City, in front of the city gate, at this time, an incomparably wide and smooth road was directly built into the Thousand Cave City from a distance. This road is the heavenly road that was built from Baiun City. Now that the road has been completed, it is bustling with merchants. The gate of the Thousand Cave City also began to be lively like other cities. Wow, this is the Thousand Cave City, the city that Gongsunli cares about the most. Yes, it's a beautiful environment. Ha ha ha. It's the first time you've come, I'll tell you, I've already been here, this city, everything is good, but the goods are scarce, and there are few people living there. I've heard that Lord Gongtu is here too, isn't it? Yes, now the people of Bayun City are clamoring to come to Thousand Cave City to have a look, but it's a pity, I don't know if Gongsunli is not in the city. It doesn't seem to be there, even Lord Gongtu was received by the storyteller. Storyteller. That's right, it's the storyteller of the Bayun Inn in the past, and now he's the steward of the city lord's mansion, it's really a good fate. Hey, I don't know if you've seen it. The soldiers of the city lord's mansion are all centaurs. That's necessary, Gongsunli must have pomp, don't you see the towers on the city wall? God, I've never seen so many towers. Ha ha ha. I'll tell you, my son, I'm now a guard in this Thousand Cave City. Really? Doesn't that mean that your family has also been assigned a house in Thousand Cave City? Of course, I'm not going to. This time. On the road to heaven, there was a burst of exclamation from time to time. Thousand Cave City is also basically on the right track. Under the care of Suanjaizi, the rules of Thousand Cave City can be regarded as established. There are special trading areas in the city, as well as residential areas. It's just that the current residential area is not very perfect. Only those who apply for the position of guard are allowed to stay here with their families for a long time. So those guards are the envy of everyone. But these are still outsiders after all. The highest status in the Thousand Cave City are the dwarves and centaurs, and only these two groups have moved into the heart of the city that everyone envies. This made everyone extremely envious, and they only hated that they had met Gongsun too late, because the scenery here in Thousand Cave City was too attractive, and the guards were not weak. The most important thing is that this Thousand Cave City seems to have a kind of magic, and all the scholars feel that they are suddenly open after they come over. All of a sudden, the saying that the Thousand Cave City raised scholars also spread. More and more people came from Bayun City, and they all wanted to pay their respects. And in the city square, a huge crocodile is lying here, and many people gather here to watch the rarity. The giant crocodile is also very docile, and he lies here every day and does not go anywhere. At first, some vendors were scared, but when they heard that it was Gongsunli's pet, they immediately thought that the crocodile was actually quite cute. From time to time, there will be people to feed. It's just that the giant crocodile helped the two of them before, and that was really a mouthful. It's all barbecue, and these vendors, not knowing its preferences, feed it some raw meat. It doesn't even bother to look at it now. Gongsunli's adult is different, such a big crocodile doesn't eat meat. The people around him sighed. When the crocodile heard this, he turned his head slightly to look at him, and there was a hint of human disdain in his eyes. Immediately provoked the people around him to laugh. Since the opening of the Heavenly Road, this is basically the case every day in Thousand Cave City. Although it is said to be prosperous, it is not as good as Bayun City, but after all, it has just begun. It is conceivable now that in the future, Thousand Cave City will definitely become a big city. But suddenly, the giant crocodile, which had been lying there all this time, suddenly stood up with its thick limbs. Immediately frightened the people around him. What's going on? Everyone stepped back. Then, the giant crocodile turned around and walked towards the city gate under everyone's surprised gaze. At this time, the gate of the Thousand Cave City. There were 3 figures, 1 large, 2 small, and 3 figures. The first impression of the 3 of them is amazing, each of them is a national color, especially the woman in the middle. These are the 3 of Gongsunli, Nanan, and Yao. Sister Huang. Nan Nan looked at the lively thousand cave city in front of her, and her eyes suddenly lit up. And although Yao didn't speak, her mind had already followed her eyes. Fortunately, in front of Gongsunli, the two were still relatively restrained. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have rushed in a long time ago. The surrounding vendors also looked at Gongsunli and the three of them curiously. Obviously, they were all attracted by the temperament of the three of them. It's just that they didn't recognize it. After all, they had only met once when Gongsunli was on the street, and at that time, Gongsunli was dressed in red, showing his domineering. It's not the same as the temperament that is so indifferent to everything now. Gongsunli carefully looked at the heavenly road and the current thousand cave city, and nodded slightly in his heart. It seems that Suanjizi is doing a good job. I just don't know if the dwarven teleportation array has been made. Thinking of this, Gongsunli pulled up Nan Nan and Yao. Let's go to the city. If you want to have fun, let Suanjizi accompany you out later. So saying, the three of them went to the city. At this time, there was a sudden exclamation on the main road in the city. Wow! Lord Crocodile is in such a hurry, what are you going to do? The people on the street saw the dark shadow running from afar, and they all stood on the side of the road to give way. Like a whirlwind, the giant crocodile soon reached the gate of the city. Then he turned around and ran quickly towards the city. But on its back, there were three more figures. Hey! Look, the giant crocodile is going to pick up the city lord. Lord of the city, is that Lord Gongsunli? Yes, Gongsun is back. Gongsun has changed his clothes. The lord of the castle is back. Welcome the lord back. The lord of the castle is back. The entire thousand cave city soon spread the news of Gongsunli's return. Gongsunli stood on the back of the giant crocodile, listening to the cheers coming from behind the giant crocodile, and a smile leaked from the corner of his mouth. After all, she herself never imagined that she would be able to develop from a lonely person to the point where she is now. It reminded her of the 100 or so people who came in with her. Little crocodile, how are the others? Gongsun left the mouth and asked. She really didn't know what happened to the others. But thinking of that elimination rule, I'm afraid those people are not having a good time. In the future, the strong will only get stronger, and the weak will only get weaker and weaker. It's just that she remembered that Foskey and Mullen had formed an alliance with her, and it seemed that she had never taken care of it. And the materials that the two promised to help collect, they only took it once. But after thinking about it, I have a big family now, and I'm really embarrassed to ask for supplies again. After all, I haven't made any effort in this alliance. But the next moment, a wry smile appeared on her face. I handed over all the things that the two of them helped you collect, and the two of them are now a small city lord. The voice of the giant crocodile sounded in her heart. She could only sigh slightly, but she had a little more affection for Foskey and Mullen in her heart. It's here. A moment later, the city lord's mansion appeared in front of him. In front of the gate of the city lord's mansion, Gina had already led people to greet her, and Xianjitsi and Gongtu were also standing respectfully at the door at this time, but as for Jeff, he didn't see him. Welcome home. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 186. I saw Gongsunli get down from the back of the giant crocodile. In front of the city lord's mansion, everyone bent down to salute, and the residents and traders who had been running with the giant crocodile. I also watched from afar behind. After saluting, Gina dispersed with the centaur guards. Suanjizi and Gongtu stepped forward. The two were first surprised by Gongsunli's current appearance, and then looked at Yao beside Gongsunli. They had all seen each other, but this Yao was the first time they had seen her. However, Xianjitzi suddenly frowned. Lord of the castle. Let's go inside. Gongsunli looked at Xianjitzi's expression, and then remembered the conversation Xianjitzi had with her before he went to the Great Wall. She subconsciously felt that there were no good words in the mouth of Suanjizi, who was not ashamed. And now there are so many people at the door, she is embarrassed to listen. Ah, yes, go in and say, go in and say. City Lord, please. Suanjizi reacted immediately, and he Gongtu hurriedly gave way and left with Gongsun inside. Let's go. Gongsunli walked into the city lord's mansion with a big stride in one hand. Gongtu followed, his eyes on Yao's body, the antlers on her head were a little piercing. This little girl. Suddenly, he found that Suanjizi had not followed. I couldn't help but call him. Suanjizi Senior, gone. Hey, here. Suanjizi agreed and hurried to follow. Oh, I said Master Gongtu, don't call me a senior. Xianjitzi is a mortal, but he is proficient in the art of divination, how can he let a character like Gongtu call him a senior? However, Xianjitzi shook his head again. The expression was a little ugly, as if something bad was wrong. Strange, I gave the city lord a divination, although this time the line died 9 lives, but the result was also a bad luck. The city lord came back, indicating that there was no big problem. But what about the castle lord's mount? As soon as these words came out, Gongtu was instantly shocked. Hurriedly reached out and covered Suanjizi's mouth. Then he secretly glanced at Yao beside Gongsunli, and was relieved to find that the two of them had not attracted attention. Wu Lord Gongtu, what are you doing? Suanjizi struggled for a while, not knowing why Gongtu suddenly covered his mouth. Be cautious, be cautious. There was a hint of fear on Gongtu's face, and his eyes glanced at Yao from time to time, signaling Xianjitzi not to talk nonsense. Although Gongtu has been famous for a long time, he is usually arrogant, but after seeing Gongsunli last time, he knew that there were people outside the world. As soon as Gongsunli came back this time, he felt that the aura on Gongsunli's body was obviously stronger than before. Although he was shocked, he also felt reasonable. After all, Gongsunli's world, he thought it was still very exciting. But to his surprise, Gongsun couldn't even see through the little girl with antlers next to him. Originally, he still guessed the little girl's thoughts, but as soon as Xianjitzi talked about the deer, the bow diagram reacted immediately. Looking for a deer? Isn't that what a little girl is? Not all horns are dragons. So he was scared now, and he had basically concluded that the little girl was the white deer from before. Xianjitzi also seemed to understand something, and his eyes suddenly widened. His eyes looked at the bow diagram in shock, as if he was confirming it. Seeing the bow figure nodding, Xianjitzi suddenly covered his mouth in fear. Now he wants to slap himself twice. I really dare to say anything. Fortunately, the little girl did not seem to intend to embarrass him. But he didn't see that Yao, who was walking forward with Gongsunli, grinned and leaked a cute little tiger tooth. The expression on his face was like that of a little demon. Xianjitzi couldn't help but shudder, and at that moment just now, he felt as if he was being targeted by something terrifying. Sit down. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, Gongsunli sat on the main seat, 2 little loli around her pestered her, and Xianjitzi and Gongtuan sat next to her. I didn't dare to glance at my eyes. Where's Jeff? Why didn't you see him? Gongsunli's first question was to ask Jeff. Now, what she cares about most is the teleportation array. Lord of the city, I just met Jeff a few days ago, and Jeff said that the research of the teleportation array is in the final stage, so no one should disturb him during this time. We didn't tell him you were back. Xianjitzi explained, and then continued to tell Gongsunli about the current situation in Thousand Cave City. Thousand Cave City. There is also a batch of materials brought back by the giant crocodile some time ago, and I sealed all of them in the warehouse. After listening to Suanjai's report, Gongsunli nodded. Then he turned his gaze to the bow figure. Gongtu instantly understood what Gongsunli meant. My lord, that's right, I'm here to look for you for two things. Gongtu stood up. The first thing is that Kiyao City is also closely related to Bayun City now, and later I learned that Kiyao City is also your city, so I thought if you have a good opinion on the development of the two cities. The second thing is the information from Kiyao City, saying that the demon clan seems to have made moves recently, but it's not clear what their purpose is, but I guess it should be related to the 7 main cities. Listening to Gongtu's words, Gongsunli pondered. As for the cooperation between the two cities, she has no opinion. After all, she doesn't understand anything herself, and it may be better to hand it over to someone else than to do it herself. But the second demon clan movement made her feel a little interesting. Especially if it has something to do with the 7 main cities. Her current 2 cities can be said to have been taken from the hands of the demon clan. But she didn't pay much attention to it. Anyway, she was still very relieved about the defense system of these 2 cities. It's just that you need to be careful that those demon clans will suddenly attack. But no matter what, the most important thing for her now is to find Jixia Academy first, and when the hero comes out, where is there anything about the demon clan in this world? Directly strangle from the root. It's just that the most important thing now is to determine the location of the Jixia Academy first. Thinking of this, Gongsunli raised his head. Bow maps, collect maps, all the maps you can find them all for me. My lord, this is easy to do, I have it here now, and then if I want more details, I'm afraid I'll have to go to those vendors, they go from south to north, and there should be maps of all places. Gongtu agreed, and took out 2 maps directly from the ring and put them on the table. My lord, I'll go out and ask the vendors now. With that, he turned around and left. Gongsunli set his eyes on Xianjitsi again. She remembered the first time she met Suanjai's obsession with Yaotian in her heart. It's just that he didn't have a clue about Yaotian at the beginning, and he didn't like Ming Xian's character very much, so he didn't want to say too much to Xianjitsi. But now, none of this is a problem. So he slowly spoke. Yaotian, I found it. Bang. Suanjaizi, who was waiting for Gongsun to leave and assign tasks to him, suddenly sat on the ground. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 187. City. Lord Castle Lord. Suanjaizi trembled, his face full of surprise. Is what you're saying true? Suanjaizi looked at Gongsunli and asked in disbelief. Humph, do you think Sister Ali will lie to you? At this time, Yao's delicate voice sounded. Hearing Yao's angry voice, Xianjitsi suddenly trembled and didn't dare to speak. Gongsunli pushed all the maps that the Bao diagram had just taken out on the table to the front of Suanjaizi. Come on, these maps, you can find me where the Jixia Academy is. I'll bring other maps over later. By the way, let Yao stay here to help you. Gongsunli said lightly. Suanjaizi knows divination, and she thinks that it is still possible to find Jixia. In addition, Yao also has some vague impressions in her current memory. So she still thinks it's okay. It's just that Xianjitsi couldn't help but be a little nervous when he heard that Gongsunli had asked Yao to stay here. He didn't know where Yao came from, and thought that Gongsunli had something else. Moreover, he had never heard of what kind of place Jixia Academy was. But before he could speak, Gongsunli had already gone out with Nanan. Old man, what are you doing in a daze? Yao raised the staff in his hand and said fiercely. But only she knew how nervous she was, but when she saw Suanjai's panicked expression, she felt very happy. Humph. Dare to say that I'm dead, I'll scare you to death. Yao thought to herself, but still leaned her head over and looked for it with Suanjizi. And Gongsunli and Nanan had already left the city lord's mansion at this time. In front of the city lord's mansion, the flow of people was obviously much larger than before, and they all heard that Gongsun had come back and came to join in the fun. But when they saw Gongsun leaving, these people didn't dare to speak again. Gongsunli hugged Nanan, walked all the way through the crowd, and walked directly to the area inhabited by the dwarves. What she cares about most now is the teleportation array. She has too much territory, and there is no teleportation array, which is too inconvenient. As soon as he arrived, Gongsunli was surrounded by dwarves. The city lord himself came to the area where he lived, which was an honor in the eyes of everyone. Your Excellency. Hello adults, and princesses. My lord, Jeff is working on the task you've given him. My lord, I'll take you to Jeff. The dwarves were enthusiastic and walked towards the house where Jeff was staying. Jeff, come out, your lord is looking for you. Hurry up and out. Without waiting for Gongsun to speak, the dwarves knocked directly on Jeff's door. There was a sudden rush of chickens and dogs in the house. Crunch. After a few moments, the door finally opened. Your Excellency. Immediately after that, Jeff's short figure appeared in front of Gongsunli's eyes. Seeing each other, both of them were stunned. Jeff is the first time to see such a Gongsunli, and Gongsunli is also the first time to see such a Jeff. Jeff was still wearing a pair of glasses on his head at this time, and the meticulously groomed long silver hair that Gongsunli remembered was messy at this time. The face is also a black piece. Don't think about it, I must have done rough work, and I don't know how long I haven't sorted myself out. Go in and say. Gongsunli was the first to reflect and walk directly into the door of Jeff's house. Jeff reacted as well. Haha, let's go back first, the city lord is looking for me, this time, thank you for leading the way. With that, Jeff closed the door with a grin. Your Excellency. In the courtyard, Jeff looked at Gongsunli, his face full of excitement. Your Excellency, you are becoming more and more powerful. And the princess, it's getting cuter. Jeff smiled and asked Gongsunli and Nanan to sit down in the small pavilion. Okay, they're all old acquaintances, what kind of horses to shoot? Gongsunli pursed the corners of his lips, and directly picked up the tea that Jeff had just prepared and took a sip. Jeff stood awkwardly. Nan also snickered on the side. Jeff is usually a very good person, although he meets relatively rarely, but every time he meets, Jeff will always give Nan all kinds of delicious food. That's why I like Jeff too. What's going on with the teleportation array? Gongsunli said straight to the point. As soon as he heard Gongsunli talk about the teleportation array, Jeff's eyes suddenly lit up. My lord, your drawings are really rebellious. Jeff spat out. Gongsunli originally just wanted to know how the teleportation array was researched, but Jeff talked endlessly about the magic of the teleportation array. Gongsunli looked at his current depressed appearance, and it was estimated that it was also caused by studying the teleportation array, so he didn't interrupt him. Finally, 5 minutes later, Jeff got to the point. 3 days. In just 3 days, I can send the first teleportation array to the city lord's mansion. Jeff held up 3 fingers at Gongsunli and said categorically. As soon as Gongsunli heard Jeff's words, he stood up and prepared to leave. For Jeff, she is still more relieved. However, she still stopped, turned to Jeff and said. It's okay to slow down for a day or two, pay attention to your body. Looking at Jeff's state, Gongsunli knew that Jeff's current age was considered an advanced age even among the dwarves. I couldn't help but sweat for him. Until he walked out of the dwarf area, Gongsunli was still thinking about whether to let her take out a little life spring water. Otherwise, if these people really have an accident one day, they will lose a lot. Thinking like this, unconsciously, Gongsunli walked back to the city lord's mansion. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, Xianjitsi was sweating profusely at this time, in just a few hours. He was really afraid of the little girl next to him. Where is this little girl? This is clearly a torturous little ghost. And Gongtu also stood aside, not daring to breathe, but he kept repeating the 4 big words of Jixia Academy in his heart. How's it going? Suddenly, Gongsunli's voice came into the minds of the 3 of them. Gongtu shuddered, and said to Suanjize, "You look for it first, I'll go and talk to the adults about something." With that, he walked out of the main hall. "My lord, I heard, you're looking for a place called Kinoshita Academy." In the city lord's mansion, Gongtu stood in front of Gongsunli. Gongsunli's eyebrows furrowed. "What? You know this place?" Gongtu shook his head suddenly. "Where, I have impression." Gongtu glanced at Gongsunli, and then continued. "I don't even remember where I heard about it, but everyone else said that Najixia Academy was a holy place countless years ago. It's different from the current academy. I heard that Jixia Academy seems to teach martial arts, and the students in it, each of them is a master of decision-making. You know, I'm the person who is most interested in martial arts, so I'll make a note of it." Gongsunli nodded lightly. "Like Chang'an City, there are legends left, right?" Gongsun couldn't help but ponder. "But Chang'an, many people have heard of it, Jixia, but only Gongtu knows that Chang'an is in the center of the mainland. Doesn't that mean that Jixia should be far away? At the very least, it shouldn't be out of the picture." Gongsunli quickly cleared out a large area. After glancing at the Bao diagram, he turned around and walked towards the main hall. But a voice reached Gongtu's ears. "Jixia Academy not only teaches martial arts, but also demons." Gongtu was taken aback. "Demon Deo? What is that? Is there a martial arts power?" He was suddenly curious in his heart, but Gongsunli had already entered the main hall. Looking at the maps on the table, Gongsunli directly tore a large piece of it. "Here, neither." Looking at the only 2/4 of the map on the table, Suanjize blinked. Why hasn't she figured out the exact location yet? National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 188. Looking at the map that was still half left on the table, Gongsunli looked at it carefully. Yao also looked around thoughtfully. "I have to say that this continent is really big, even if half of it has been eliminated, but the remaining area still makes Gongsunli feel a little surprised." This also made people in the live broadcast room sigh. "I didn't know before, but now that I look at it, I don't know how many times bigger this continent is than the Earth. It's really difficult. Gongsunli has to find a specific location here. Oh my god, this second home is too big, isn't it?" "Yes. That's outrageous. Not to mention the people in the live broadcast room, even Suanjize and Gongtu, 2 aborigines living here. It's also a gasp. It was the first time they had seen such a complete map, and they hadn't paid attention to it before. Where to go is generally a map of the area, and it won't be so big at all. How's it going?" Gongsunli looked at Suanjize. Xianjitsi shook his head, because Gongsun had only given him the name of Jixia Academy before he left. This is too difficult for him to cross. At this time, the Bao figure also came over. However, he was more point-oriented, and put his hand directly in the northwest direction of the map. "Here, I remember the rumors of Jixia Academy that I heard in this direction," Gongtu said with a frown. Gongsunli looked in the direction of his finger, a little distracted. In fact, Gongsunli has seen the background of the King continent, but she has never taken it to heart. Now I'm going to use it, and I don't know anything. and even if you remember a few place names, after such a long time, you won't be able to find those places on the map. Yao, do you have a way? After thinking about it for a long time, Gongsunli had no choice but to put his hope on Yao. Regarding the memories of this continent, Yao is probably clearer than her. At the same time, while the four of them were trying to determine the location of the Jixia Academy, the news of Gongsunli's return also spread from Thousand Cave City to Baiyun City. In Baiyun City, there were also many caravans from Qiyao City at this time, and suddenly, people decided to come to Thousand Cave City. If you want to take a look at Gongsunli, after all, don't talk about it, let's just say that Gongsunli became the city lord of these two cities. Then their lives are getting better and better. Gongsunli is like a god in people's hearts. Especially the residents of Qiyao City, when it comes to Gongsunli, it is very worshipful. But fortunately, this place is far away from Qiyao City, and the news does not spread so quickly. But even so, the already lively Tianlu has been crowded with people these days, all heading in the direction of Thousand Cave City. Most of them are merchants, who want to go to Thousand Cave City to buy and sell some goods, and some are adults in the family, with their own children. While telling the child about the good things Gongsunli had done, he walked towards the Thousand Cave City. However, among these crowds, there are a few people who are out of place at first glance. William, are you sure we can get into the Thousand Caves? What if I can't get in? I'm satisfied if I can look at her from afar. On the heavenly road, two figures one in front of one after the other, it was William and Lucius hung. After such a long time, the pioneers of many countries have been eliminated, and a small number of pioneers have seized the opportunity to advance by leaps and bounds. William and Yanagi were one of them. At this time, the two of them were already small city lords, and their strength was no longer what it used to be. However, Lucius Hung still obeyed William, because he couldn't beat him. Hearing William's words like licking a dog, Yanagi was speechless for a while, not knowing what to say. William has been talking about his grandson for a long time. This time, as soon as he heard that Gongsun was leaving the Thousand Cave City, he came directly with him. In the live broadcast room, the audience in Eagle Sauce Country heard William's words and didn't know what to say. Originally, they thought that after a long time, William would forget, but now it is good, and it is still the same as before. Alas! Lucius Hung sighed, although this heavenly road has shortened the distance to Thousand Cave City, but no matter how fast it is, it will take 2 days. 2 days, for these pioneers who remain now, that is really precious enough. The pioneers who are still in the second home, the worst of the mix, is a small city lord, and all those who do not have a city lord have been eliminated. It is enough to imagine how precious time is. But at this point, William had to put down what he was doing and go over. Suddenly, Yanagi's eyes lit up, and he seemed to see a familiar figure. Hey, William! Look! Yanagi Shidasheng held a long knife in his hand and pointed to the two figures in front of him. William looked in the direction he was pointing, and froze. Ahead of the two of them were none other than Foskey and Mullen. William, what should I do? These two guys are also going to Thousand Cave City depending on the situation. There are only a few guards left in their city now, do you want to? A gleam flashed in Lu Shidasheng's eyes. In fact, the cities of the four of them are very close to each other, that is, the four smallest cities, and the strength of the four people is also about the same. So on weekdays, everything is fine, but now, it seems that there is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as William gives up going to the Thousand Cave City, and the two return now, they can take the cities of Foskey and Mullen. A hint of hesitation flashed in William's eyes. He knew that Foskey and Mullen were allies, but he didn't care. What he wants to do now is to see Gongsunli, but the temptation of the two cities is also very great. But in the end, he still decided to forget it and see Gongsunli first. It was at this time that Fauski, who was ahead of them, also turned around. Glancing at William, the warning in his eyes was very obvious. "Forget it, let's go, Thousand Caves City." When William saw this, he knew that the other party had found out, so he had no other thoughts. These four people, rarely, reached a consensus. Thousand Cave City, the city lord's mansion. By this time, it was already dark, and the lights in the hall had been lit. In front of the table, Xianjitzi's expression looked obviously a little tired. Today, he's really exhausted. And next to him, Yao was holding a green gem in her hand. This gem is one of her equipment, Star Spring, the kind that shares the damage. "Come on, today's last hexagram, you try to use the Star Spring as a divination medium," Gongsunli said as he stood in front of the table. This Star Spring, if I'm not mistaken, should have something to do with the Jixia Academy. Maybe it was created by a certain sage of the Jixia Academy. After Gongsunli finished speaking, his eyes were on Xianjitzi's body. "Today, I used all the methods. If I didn't know that Yao came from the Suanwei forest, I am afraid that I would have to let blood directly." Gongtu was also on his side, but at this time his attention was on Xin Quan. Such a weapon, he saw for the first time. Suanjiza picked up Xin Quan and put it on the table. Then, 3 more ancient coins were found. "Looks decent. Leave the hexagram." The next moment, 3 ancient coins shot and fell on the table. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 189. Suanjiza stared nervously at the 3 ancient coins that had fallen on the table. Buzz buzz. Xin Quan, who was also placed on the table, actually moved at this time. 3 green rays of light shot out from the star fountain and hit the ancient coin. The 3 ancient coins instantly seemed to be given life, and they were suspended in the air. Suanjiza was stunned on the spot. He had studied the art of Yaotian all his life, but he didn't know that the art of Yaotian was so magical. In addition to Suanjiza, Gongsunli and several people also came to the spirit. It's been a whole afternoon, and the 3 ancient coins have been thrown away anymore. Now that there's finally movement, how can this not be exciting? However, compared to Suanjiza, the expressions of several people were quite normal, because they couldn't understand it. But Xianjitzi is different, his expression has changed greatly at this time. These 3 ancient coins have been with him for decades, and it can be said that this ancient coin is like a part of his own body. It's incomparably clear. But now, under his nose, the pattern on this ancient coin has undergone strange changes. Where had he ever seen such a scene? "Your Excellency." "This." He immediately stammered. Gongsunli also stared curiously. She didn't know what was going on. Xin Quan was in her memory. It was an artifact that shared damage, and it was generally not used, and when it was used, it was a fatal time. But now that this Star Spring has appeared in the real world, it is inevitable that it will have other functions. But fortunately, this function is useful for me. Under the gaze of several people, the shape on the ancient coin is changing little by little. Smack. Finally, after a few minutes, the ancient coin stopped changing, and there was no longer a green glow on the Star Spring. 3 ancient coins fell on the wooden table with a clatter. "Quick, can you see what you can see?" Suanjiza's excited body fell on his stomach, but his hands were a little afraid to touch the ancient coin. I understand." With just one glance, Xianjitzi exclaimed, with a hint of excitement in his tone. "I remember that in the original booklet of Yaotian, there was a description of such a hexagram. I didn't know how to calculate such a hexagram before, but now it has come out. Suanjai's face flushed with excitement. Gongsunli also quietly breathed a sigh of relief, and the address of Jixia Academy was finally done. However, Xianjitsi set his eyes on seeing Quan the next moment. He didn't know what this thing was, but if it could affect the ancient coin, it must be a good thing. But the next moment, a pair of white little hands reached over and took Seeing Quan away. Xianjitsi turned his head, and just saw Yao grinning at him, and immediately shuddered. Ahem. Xianjitsi coughed twice in embarrassment, and then looked at Gongsunli. My lord, I'd better help you explain the hexagram first. Suanjaiza said curtly. So, in some dim light, several figures sat down again. The flames were blazing, and it looked a little peaceful and peaceful. And so it went on until late at night. On the other side, in the house of the dwarf Jeff, the dwarf with reading glasses was throwing himself on the table and constantly writing and drawing, and from time to time he would go to the workbench and knock a few times. Although the complexion did not look good, the excitement on his face became more and more obvious. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. In the Thousand Caves city, even the time to open the city gate was earlier than in the past. Because today a large number of people have already entered the city, leaving for Gongsun. And the city lord's mansion was quiet at this time, without a sound. Outside the city lord's mansion, it has been guarded by centaurs since yesterday. Because Gongsun was too late to rest yesterday, Gina was afraid of disturbing her, and a city lord's mansion was surrounded by people every day, although it was not a troublemaker, but it was not good after all. This is probably the only drawback of being a good city lord. The streets near the city lord's mansion are too crowded. And at this moment, a small figure appeared in front of the guard. It was Jeff, who was still carrying a small bag, and his clothes and face were dirty. Patriarch Jeff. Quick, I want to see the lord of the city. The centaur guards naturally knew Jeff, and they also knew that Jeff was now helping Gongsunli. As soon as he saw Jeff's anxious appearance, he didn't dare to slack off. Okay, Patriarch Jeff, come with me. The guards walked directly towards the city lord's mansion with Jeff, leaving a group of people behind to watch with envy. Jeff, I'm afraid you'll have to wait a while. The city lord slept late last night and hasn't gotten up yet. In the city lord's mansion, Jeff was arranged to sit in the courtyard. And Gina also came over at this time and brought breakfast to Jeff. What's the matter? The things arranged by the city lord have been done. Jeff nodded excitedly. Okay, you hurry up and eat, go wash after eating, it's so dirty. Are you embarrassed to see the city lord? Gina looked at Jeff, who was still white with only his teeth left, and felt a little distressed. This was her good friend. Then, Jeff picked up the bowl and took a big bite to eat. Waiting until the sun was up, Jeff also washed his face and fell asleep in the yard. He hadn't slept in days. In a room in the city lord's mansion, the curtain of the bed suddenly moved, as if the person lying on it was about to wake up. Gongsunli lay on the bed, turned over, suddenly felt a softness around him, and suddenly opened his eyes in a daze. I saw that Yao and Nanan also just opened their eyes, and they had just woken up. Sister Huang. Sister Ali. When the two little guys saw Gongsunli, a smile suddenly leaked from their faces. Gongsunli also suddenly felt better. Yesterday, by the time the mystery was finished, it was already midnight, but it was quite tiring, but it was worth it. Because the location of the Kinoshita Academy has been determined. Now, she was waiting for Jeff's teleportation array. When the teleportation array is ready, she can set off for Jixia Academy. Sister Huang, I'm hungry. At this time, Nan Nan suddenly climbed in front of Gongsunli and said a little aggrieved. Gongsunli froze for a moment, and she guessed that it should be almost noon now. Get up and eat. Gongsunli pinched Nanan's little face and lifted the quilt covering the three of them. Gongsunli suddenly felt a chill on his body, and then looked down blankly. His eyes widened in shock. The next moment a scream was heard, followed by the screams of the girl. Sister Huang. I was wrong. I didn't get it off. It's me, but I'm not alone. Listen to me, Sister Huang. Sister, dot. And Yao. You can't just beat me alone. Sister Huang. I know it's wrong. Don't dare next time. Nanan's voice was very loud, and it reached the ears of Gina, who was guarding the door, and Gina immediately blushed. For a moment, my thoughts diverged. The figure of an adult. It should be good. National Games online game, transform into Gongsunli at the beginning. Author, show your secrets. Chapter 190. After a while, she stood at the door with a small face and an aggrieved face. Gongsunli came out of the house, obviously with a hint of blush on his face. Gina, who had been guarding the door, saw Gongsun leave and quickly turned her gaze to something else. But obviously I couldn't hold back my laughter. Gongsun helplessly glanced at the girl who was standing on the penalty station, feeling a little nerve-wracking. This kid is getting naughty and naughty. Yesterday, she and Yao had a busy day, and fell asleep on the bed. As a result, I didn't expect this girl to take off her clothes without knowing when. The most important thing is that I made myself a big red face in the morning. Fortunately, here, except for a female Gina, no one dared to come in. But seeing Nanan's aggrieved face, Gongsun was reluctant to get angry. Let's go, eat. When she heard this, her eyes lit up, and she saw that Gongsun was looking at her. Went up and grabbed Gongsun hand. Sister Huang. I know it's wrong. Gongsun glanced at her, and an old saying suddenly came to her mind. Dogs are too old. Yao followed behind the two and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Although she is also more naughty, fortunately, she is still a little measured. This girl, that's really with the temperament. But then again, she tightened her neckline a little scared now, and she slept quite well yesterday. Fortunately, she didn't reach out to her, or she was sure she would be finished. But remembering that Nan still wanted to carry the pot in the morning, Yao let out a soft snort. I'm not very old, but I have a lot of eyes. But there was no hint of blame in the tone, on the contrary, it was a little funny. With that, Yao quickly took 2 steps and followed. Gina followed behind a few people and pondered for a long time, considering whether to find some female dependents to come in. Otherwise, she would be alone, and this would really be a bit too much to take care of. But thinking that Gongsun was often absent, he put this plan in his heart. In the main hall, the table was already full of food, and Gongsun sat down directly as soon as he came over and prepared to start. Your Excellency. Just then, Jeff ran in. He had been waiting in the house all morning. Come, sit down and eat. I'll talk about it after eating. Gongsun knew what was going on when he left Jeff, and his mood suddenly improved. But seeing Jeff's eyes red, he didn't have to think about it to know that he must have not slept for a few days. Jeff has indeed been in a hurry for a few days, except for the breakfast that Gina prepared for him this morning. Now when I see the delicacies of the mountains and seas on the table, I also swallow my saliva, and I am not hypocritical. Thank you, sir. Jeff sat up and began to gobble up. After a while, Gongsun had already finished eating, and Jeff was still eating. He had been hungry for too long, and besides, the food in this house was indeed delicious. Gongsun looked at Jeff and wanted to take 2 more bites, but his body didn't allow it. Now, although she can overcome the smell of blood, she can only eat meat in 2 bites, and she can't eat too much. This is also where Gongsun is troubled. His strength is getting stronger and stronger, and there are more and more good things he can eat. But my stomach is not angry. As Jeff ate, he noticed that something was wrong, as if everyone else around him had stopped moving, and then put the bowl in his hand down. I saw 3 people around me looking at me. Immediately, the old face turned red. "Your Excellency." I. It's fine." Gongsunli smiled. Jeff immediately reflected. Quickly took off the package on his back. "My lord, look at it, if it's this thing is amazing." Gongsunli opened the package, and then saw a disc. At a glance, Gongsunli could determine that this was the teleportation array, which was exactly the same as the one in Chang'an City. "My lord, this thing, it's charged." "Recharged?" Gongsunli, who was watching carefully, was stunned, and she remembered that it didn't seem to be mentioned in the introduction. Jeff saw that Gongsunli didn't know, and immediately explained. "This teleportation array is indeed a good thing, but it itself is an energy storage body, and the energy of the magic crystal must be stored in advance, and then the number of people and distances transmitted each time are different, and the amount of energy required is also different, and when the energy is exhausted, it must be charged before it can continue to be used." Hearing Jeff's introduction, Gongsunli suddenly became clear. Feelings are like taxis: give more money when you are far away, give less money when you are less, and the same is true for fewer people. Use it for balance, otherwise you will pass one army at a time, and it will be really invincible. Gongsunli soon understood the meaning of this charge. But obviously, she won't worry about the magic crystal now. Just kidding, the city lords of the 3 cities can have less magic crystals, but in the future, there will be more teleportation arrays, so I don't know if it will be enough. "City Lord, I haven't used this either, I don't know how much this teleportation consumes, but I filled this magic crystal with all the magic crystals, and I really won't tell you, this is a bottomless pit. It's still the magic crystal that Suanjiza found for me, which is enough. If you have a chance next time, I think you need to prepare more magic crystals. After all, you have so many cities, and magic crystals are also important materials, so there will not be too much." Hear the words of Xianjitsi. Gongsunli nodded approvingly. Indeed, even the simplest defense towers require magic crystals, and magic crystal cannons require magic crystals. This thing is equivalent to hard currency. Gongsunli pondered, then he went out this time, and he really had to do something to make this plan. Build your own city with someone else's magic crystal. Think about it, in the future, several of your own cities will have teleportation arrays, and the other cities will be lonely without having to do it yourself. Just kidding, a trader who runs for a few months to a city, and after having a teleportation array, it only takes a blink of an eye, can such a city not be sought after? Thinking of this, Gongsunli said to Jeff. Go ahead, you have experience, but don't do too much, let's make 5 pieces for the time being. Hearing Gongsunli's words, Jeff's eyes widened suddenly. Don't do too much. Make 5 pieces first? Oh my god, you know how hard it is? Jeff's face flushed with suffocation. My lord, this. It takes time, it's really too hard, and if you don't pay attention, you can go wrong. Seeing this, Gongsunli also reacted. It's okay, you just do it as quickly as possible, and don't worry about the supplies. By the way, also, didn't the little crocodile come back last time with a batch of supplies? I haven't had time to see it, I heard that it is sealed in the warehouse in the house. Find a mystery, and the materials there in the future will be called by you dwarf clans. Gongsunli said lightly. Anyway, she felt that the materials of the 2 Fusky were of little use to herself. Moreover, it will not be wasted if it is handed over to the dwarves. Jeff listened to Gongsunli's words and nodded. The last time the giant crocodile came back with supplies, he saw those things, and he looked at them red. Now that Gongsunli has said it, it's too late for him to be happy. Anyway, the right to use this warehouse should be regarded as a reward from the city lord. Jeff thought to himself. It's a pity that Gongsunli forgot a very important thing, that is, when the two of them started to collect supplies, there were still many small boxes. Because the natives can't open it, and after the novice period has passed, the small boxes that have not been found slowly disappear. She forgot about it. In the warehouse of the city lord's mansion, there are still more than a dozen boxes still in the corner, and I don't know when Gongsunli will find out. Now, Gongsunli's mind has flown to Jixia Academy. What she went out to do this time was a big thing that changed the world. You say, more than 100 heroes have reappeared in the world, what will it be like? Moreover, this world notice, I don't know how long I haven't thought about it. I don't know if this time to change the pattern of the world announcement can be sounded once. Gongsun muttered from his mouth and looked to the northwest. There, hundreds of thousands of miles away, is where the Jixia Academy is located.